Welcome to this session on 5 ways to advance your career. So the first way that we'll talk about is internships. So as you all might know, internships are hands-on professional experiences where you'll go to work, usually in person, but now with COVID, it might be remotely. You'll go to work at a company or organization, and typically internships are one work term. They last for approximately 3 months and will typically, but not always, take place over the summer. And so there's lots of different ways that you can go about finding internship opportunities. But probably the best way to begin and to focus most of your efforts is through the platform Handshake. So if you're not already familiar with Handshake, it's essential that you get on there and get familiar with it. Handshake is our centralized career management platform that we run through the Career Center, and it's kind of like a one-stop shop for all of your basic career needs. And so I'm going to reshare my screen with you here in 1 minute, and I'll show you how you can go about finding internship opportunities through the Handshake platform. Okay, so when you log into Handshake, you'll be directed to this page here, and the internship opportunities can be found under this Jobs tab. And this is not only internships, we're talking about, that context right now, but there's also lots of other types of experiential learning positions that you can find through this Jobs tab through Handshake too. You can see there's currently this many opportunities posted. So there's lots and lots of opportunities. We're adding an average of about 150 new ones per day. So there's something on here for everyone. And as far as the internships go, you can select this internship option up the top here. It will narrow down to only internship opportunities, and then you can use the search bar to type in different keywords and go to filters to narrow down further depending on what you're looking for. So if you're looking for something full-time or part-time, you can add that criteria. If there's a certain type of role that you want, a certain industry or two that you're targeting, if you have a particular company or organization that you want to work for or that you're looking into, you can search by that. You can search by major. There's this employer preferences option too, which automatically populates in information about you as a student and then only pulls up positions that match all of those preferences. And then if there's any international students on the call, there are these filters here about work authorization that let you filter down to employers that would be open to hiring you as international students. So I definitely encourage that you try out a bunch of different search and filter combinations, and then once you apply that, you can go and browse through the different opportunities here along the left-hand side. And when you find something that sounds interesting to you, you can click on it. You can read a description of the role. You can read a description of the company. Sometimes there will also be student reviews of the company from people who have worked there in the past, not only at Lehigh, but at other schools, which can be really insightful. And then it will suggest some similar positions to the one you're viewing down here. And if you want to apply, you can click the apply button, and then it will direct you to submit your resume, maybe a cover letter, some other information to submit an application. And if you think you want to apply, but you're not quite ready to at the time when you first come across the role, you can select this flag here. And then that position will be saved under this saved tabs for you to come back to later when you're ready. And then once you start submitting applications through Handshake, they will show up here under this applications tab to keep you on track and organized with where you're applying to. Another really cool feature that can be helpful for internship searching, as well as co-ops and full-time jobs and other career opportunities in general, is this employers tab, which again is located under the larger jobs category. And this allows you to identify specific companies and organizations that you might want to target, and you can approach your search from that direction as well. So similar to the other area we were looking at, you can type in different keywords based on what you're looking for. You can search by location if there's certain regions that you think you want to work. You can search by employer size if you're looking to target maybe a smaller startup company or a mid-sized company or a large corporation. You could navigate by industry and by other things as well. And so just as an example, I'll type in here PwC. They're a great employer for Lehigh students. And when I click on the PwC profile, it will pull up all kinds of information about that company. So you can see current jobs that they have open on the Handshake platform. You can see sometimes there'll be interesting media links, a written description of the company. If there's discussion forum questions regarding that company, you can review those too. You can see students who've worked there in the past, again, not just at Lehigh, but from universities and colleges all over the country. There's other types of resources here if the company's attending upcoming events, etc. A lot of really valuable info under this employer section. And then I mentioned the reviews before, and those can be found under this area as well, where you can go in and see what students' impressions were and experiences were who've had experience at the company and maybe interned there in the past. And then if when you get to the interview process at a company, you can select this interviews tab, which will show you insights from people who've gone through that interview process about maybe what type of questions you'll be asked, what to expect, which can be super valuable and insightful for helping you prepare. So a lot of really great content under this jobs tab to help with your internship search. And like I said, the internship is, the first way that we're talking about for the purposes of this event to advance your career. So I'm noticing that there's a question here in the chat from Rebecca. Rebecca, I hope you don't mind that I share it out with the larger group. I think the larger group might benefit from hearing. You had asked, Rebecca, when I use Handshake, most internships want upperclassmen. How can I find internships that are willing to take freshmen? That's a great question, Rebecca. Thank you so much for that. So in many cases, employers are looking more so for students who are sophomore year and beyond, because you've had a chance to get into some of your major courses and develop some field-specific skills that might be necessary for that role. But with that being said, I do know many freshmen who've been able to land internship opportunities, especially if maybe you have had some industry exposure before. And the best way to narrow down to see whether an employer would be open to hiring you or not as a freshman is to use that employer preferences match option. So I'll go back into the area where we were before, jobs, internships, and then if I select all filters, it will let you identify here, match all employer preferences. If you click that, it will only show you positions that employers indicated they would be open to hiring, people that have your specific eligibility criteria. So that's what I would recommend for you as a first year student, to try to target, those opportunities that might be a fit. And also, an internship is just one of many ways that you can gain experience. So if an internship doesn't come along for you this summer, there's other options that you can pursue as well to gain skills and to build up your resume. And we'll talk about a few of those coming up next. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the slides here, and The second type of opportunity that we're going to cover is the co-op opportunity. And for some of you, those of you who are engineers, you might have been familiar with the engineering co-op program. That was a formal Lehigh-led program. But due to COVID and some other factors, industry trends, the co-op program will not be happening in its current form this year. It's going to be redesigned for the future. However, you can still find co-op opportunities yourself. They just wouldn't be part of an official Lehigh-led co-op program. And so I'll show you, how you can go about finding those types of positions. But to start, a definition of co-op to sort of distinguish it from internships. Sometimes there's some confusion surrounding that. Co-ops are also, like internships, hands-on professional experiences where you go to a company and you work. But in contrast to internships, co-ops are typically multiple work terms. Or sometimes the word rotation will be used. They're usually multiple rotations. And they can take place not just during the summer, but also throughout the academic year. And because they're happening sometimes during the academic year, it will be up to you to work with your advisor and your college to try to figure out how to make that possible within your schedule of coursework. So I know, for example, for students in the College of Engineering, there is usually a course that you can take if you're pursuing a co-op during the semester that will allow you to get credits. And then you can maybe take a few other classes part-time, do your co-op part-time, and that's one way to fit it in. Another option is to take a leave of absence for a semester, which sounds like a negative thing, but it's not necessarily. It just means that your Lehigh account is put on hold for a semester while you go to, pursue a co-op position. That's certainly an option. So these are just, some ideas of how you could maybe make a co-op work during the academic year. But as I said, you'll want to work with your advisor, your academic department to try to figure out a plan that would work best for you. And so I'll show you now how you can go about finding these co-op positions. And it's a really similar process to the finding internships, so we don't need to go into too much detail on it. But just as we did before, you'll click on the Jobs tab, and then you'll use these filters here to narrow down to co-op. So I'll select all filters, I'll go to More, press the co-op job type, and then it will show you the results there. And exactly like we looked at for internships, you can scroll through the left-hand side, use different keywords and search criteria to narrow down. And then once you find something that you think you're interested in, you can click on the position and learn more about it, and then apply here, exactly the same process as we did for internships. So that's a little bit about co-op positions and how you can find those. Okay, so we talked about pursuing internships, we talked about pursuing co-ops, and we talked about them mainly as it relates to applying, submitting online applications. And while that's definitely critical and an essential part of the process for landing positions, really only about 30 to 40% of your search efforts should be spent on applying online, and about 60 to 70% of your efforts should be spent networking or building connections with people at the companies that you're interested in working at. And that's because for a lot of these different positions that are posted online, you might be one of 100 or 200 plus candidates who are applying, and it can be really hard to stand out among, that many electronic resumes resumes, even if you're a really great candidate and you have a lot of great qualifications. But by making and building relationships with people in your industry at the company, that's going to be what's going to get you noticed among the crowd and help you get in the door to have the chance to interview. And so the next couple of opportunities we're going to go over are going to be more focused on that networking aspect. The first one being employer information sessions. So a lot of times employers will have smaller scale events where you'll have the chance to meet with representatives from their company and gain insight into what it's like to work there. So sometimes these are more formal like presentations. Other times they're a little bit less formal and could be kind of like personalized, like one-on-one coffee chats. Virtual coffee chats are something that's become very popular for employer information sessions. And interestingly, we've seen an increase in the number of employer information sessions that are being brought to Lehigh since COVID, most likely because now employers no longer need to take the time and spend the resources to travel to campus and have an in-person event. And now they can just, log on to Zoom and do it from anywhere. So would definitely suggest that you guys take advantage of these employer information sessions. And to find those, you'll go through Handshake, just like we did to find the internships and co-ops, except it's under a different tab here, the tab right next to jobs called events. So if I click on that, it'll pull up our event calendar at the Career Center, and there's all kinds of events happening, information sessions, like I said, different types of workshops. Sometimes employers will make it into kind of like a fun activity type of event, a challenge event, like I see this one for PwC here. Here's some information sessions, tech talks. Sometimes they get creative with it, and here I see one, the Super Bowl workshop series, and we're adding new events in here every week. Every day actually. And so I would suggest that maybe at the beginning of every week, especially while you're really honing in on your search, come into the events tab, see what's coming up, and try to attend anything that sounds interesting to you. It's a great networking opportunity and way to learn more about your companies of interest and start to build connections there. So that's the employer information sessions. Another type of networking opportunity that will happen for Lehigh students twice a year is the Career Expo. So we'll usually or we'll always have a Career Expo that takes place in the fall semester and another one that takes place in the spring semester. And the spring one is coming up really soon. It's going to be on Thursday, February 18th from 4 to 7. And we're going to have over 50 employers there who are looking to hire Lehigh students for those internships, for those co-ops, as well as for full-time jobs. And so again, just like with everything else we've been looking at, you can access information and register for the career fair through Handshake. So you'll come into the events tab, just as we did to look at the employer information sessions and all these other types of events. And then there's this career fair filter that you can select to find out and RSVP for the upcoming spring career fair. And so there's a description here. You can see a list of the employers that are attending. It's really important that in advance you're aware of what companies are coming and you know which ones you want to talk to. And also really critical before the career fair is that you sign up for sessions with those target employers for you because because it's all online, there's a limited number of spots. So you'll need to sign up in advance for either group sessions where you'll be one of many students talking with an employer, hearing from an employer, or one-on-one sessions where it's just you and a representative from the company talking one-on-one for 10 minutes. And like I said, you'll need to sign up for those for advance. There's a limited number of slots, so you'll want to get on that sometime soon to make sure that you don't miss out on the chance to talk to the companies that you're interested in. And so to find the sessions that are available, you'll go over to this available sessions section, and then you can scroll through and you can see different times that are open for group sessions, for individual sessions with different companies, and you can sign up in advance. And you can see that there, is already several spots that have been occupied at this point. So, maybe sometime today or tomorrow, it would be great if you can get in here and sign up to talk to those employers that you're interested in meeting with. So that's the Spring Career Fair. It's coming up very soon, February 18th. And I see that Kirsten has asked me a question in the chat. Thanks for your question, Kirsten. Again, I hope you don't mind if I read it out for the larger group. Kirsten asked if freshmen can attend the career fair, and the answer is yes. I know in the fall it was not open to freshmen, if some of you might remember that, first year students, because of the limited capacity of the platform. But this time around, we are opening it up to first years, but still, there's a limited capacity to the platform, and you need to make sure that you're signing up for those sessions to be sure that you get a spot. But yes, as a first year student, you can definitely attend, and I would encourage you to do that. It's great for a learning experience, because now this year, your first year, it's not so critical for you to be landing something, and you can kind of just approach it more with an open mind, and from the perspective of test driving what it will be like, getting a sense of how to present yourself, what to expect, and so then next year and moving forward, you'll be really well prepared for the career fair at times when it really counts. So definitely, if you're a first year student, second year student, junior, senior, master's, beyond, there's the career fair is a great opportunity for you. Okay, and then I see Michael has asked a question too about what does OPT CPT mean, accepts OPT CPT. So that's only relevant for international students. International students who are on, it's called an F1 visa, will need it's CPT curricular practical training, OPT optional practical training, and you'll need these certain types of work authorizations in order to have internships or co-ops or jobs at companies. So if you are an international student and you're on the call, would encourage you to talk with OISS and schedule an appointment with your career coach. I'll show you how to do that in a couple of minutes to talk through the OPT and CPT process if you haven't already. Okay, thanks for the questions, everybody. These are great. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the final way of advancing your career. And I just want to say that, these are 5 ways that we're talking about today, but this is by no means a comprehensive list. These are just kind of the primary types of opportunities that Lehigh students tend to pursue, but there's other options as well, and you can always talk to a member of the Career Center team through an appointment through Career Lab, which, like I said, I'll show you how you can go about scheduling an appointment and getting more help in a couple of minutes. But we can always talk through some other options for you individually as well. So this last way that we're going to talk about for today is networking through Lehigh Connects. So Lehigh Connects is an alumni mentorship platform, and on there we have over 3,000 Lehigh alumni who've all agreed to give career guidance and mentorship to current students. So this is another great networking avenue, and I'll pull up the Lehigh Connects platform to show you how to navigate that. And I see we have a couple of more questions in the chat. After I show Lehigh Connects, I'll definitely get to answering those, okay? Thank you so much for participating in the chat. All right, so when you get into Lehigh Connects, it'll prompt you through answering a couple of questions, and then once you're in the platform, it will bring you to this home page. And then what you'll want to do after that is go over to Browse the Network, the second tab, and this will bring up all of the alumni who are on the platform, and you can search and filter up here depending on who you're interested in talking to. So say, you have a particular company in mind that you really want to work for. Let's use Lockheed Martin as an example. They hire a lot of Lehigh students. We search that, and then it shows that there are 13 alumni on Lehigh Connects who either currently work at Lockheed Martin, have worked there in the past, and then you can scroll through and learn a little bit about who these alumni are. And I think it's really just kind of interesting and helpful in itself to get a sense of, what did these people major in? What type of internships did they have? What type of skills do they have? Because that can give you a sense of maybe what types of experiences you will want to build up if you hope to end up in a position similar to theirs one day. But then it would also be great to take it kind of a step further and actually get in touch with some of these alumni here once you find people who really stand out to you. So I clicked on this person's profile, Gustavo. I can go through and read a little bit about his current position, what he majored in, what activities he was part of, etc. And then I can click this message button to reach out to this alumni and request. Sometimes it'll give you the option to do a long-term mentorship. Other times it'll just give you the second option to send a message or request a meeting. I think in all cases, for the most part, it's good to begin by just sending a message to introduce yourself, and you can ask some questions and just try to initiate messaging back and forth. But then also, I'm a big advocate of reaching out to alumni to set up what's called an informational interview. So an informational interview is either a phone call, a Zoom call, depending on the circumstances, maybe an in-person meeting, where you have the chance to ask this person questions about their career path and get their insight, as someone who can give a real world perspective and advice, for you related to your career development. And that's an excellent way to start initiating a professional networking relationship. And if the conversation goes well, then that could be a contact you have that can help you potentially land a position at their company, and just kind of help you advance in your career in general. And then oftentimes, and this is getting into another type of experience, which I think is useful for all students, but especially for first year students. I know there are several first year students on here. You had a couple of questions related to, getting internships. It can be, limited for you as a first year student, but one alternative is making connections with these alumni and then trying to set up shadowing opportunities, or we call them externships. That's kind of just a fancier way, more impressive way of saying shadowing, where you'll either go, again, depending on, COVID and the circumstances, in person or remote for a half a day, a full day, and you'll sort of just observe and you'll maybe sit in on some meetings, have conversations with some people, maybe do, a couple of small tasks related to a project. And that's something excellent and field specific that you can put on your resume. It's not a heavy lift. It just takes a day. And, for a first year student, for instance, if maybe you don't get an internship or you're not sure what type of internship or career path you want to pursue, you could potentially set up 5 or 6 shadowing opportunities this upcoming summer. And then that's, some great content that you can put on your resume, and that could help you, move forward into the future too. So that's Lehigh Connects, just giving you some ideas about why you might want to reach out, what you might want to say, what the goal might be. And I also want to point out that beyond that Browse the Network tab, there's also a new project section on the platform, which is really interesting. And on here, alumni and others can also post project positions for students, where it's just working on one particular project for a company or an organization. It's usually short term, often, but not always unpaid. So that's another type of opportunity that you might be interested in. And you can come on in here to read about the different projects that are posted and apply if that's something that you're interested in too. So that's Lehigh Connects, a little bit about how to network through that. You guys are ready to get started. Thank you again so much for taking the time to join me this afternoon. I hope to see many of you at Career Lab. Career Lab is again Monday through Friday from 10 to 3. That's a great place to drop by and get started in working with the Career Center.